What is going on, guys? Welcome back to GTA Online, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Imponte Ruiner ZZ-8, which is basically a Pontiac Trans Am 4th gen. I have to admit, I think Rockstar did a pretty dang good job with the design of this vehicle. Now, if you guys do want to buy this car, you're looking at about $1.3 million, which honestly isn't that bad compared to some of the other car prices we have seen. Now, if you guys do want to see how I customize the ZZ-8, I will also have that timestamped at the end of the video as well, but nonetheless, let's go take an outside look at this vehicle and then take it on a little test drive around the city. Then we definitely have to see what the top speed of this car is, even though the odometer is kind of broken. And then moving over to the outside look of the new Imponte Ruiner ZZ-8, I think we can all agree that Rockstar did a pretty good job with the overall detail of this engine here. See the filter in there, plus we're going to have the belts, plus the actual blocks of the engine. Obviously, the under part of it's probably not going to look all that good. Then we'll have the interior view here, which I'll show that here in a second again. Then we have the trunk, then the other side of the interior. And now moving over to the interior view of the ZZ-8, I have to admit one thing. I don't think this car looks all that great inside, to be honest. You guys can also see some of the buttons there are going to be pixelated, plus like the actual handle of the vehicle. I did notice some of the other cars in the game in this update did have better looking interiors, and I can definitely see this one probably doesn't look all that great at all. It also looks kind of cheap. How the interior in this vehicle might not look as good as some of the other cars we have seen in the update. Now, one way to look at it is the fact that this vehicle is only $1.3 million compared to many of the other ones costing around $2 or $2 million plus for that matter. So maybe that could be a reason why, or maybe they just might have cut some corners on the interior of this vehicle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But besides that, guys, let's go take this car on a little test drive around the city to really see what it might be able to actually do and how it might really handle compared to some of the other muscle cars in the game. Now, with this thing being a muscle car, you can obviously do a really cool wheelie launch every time you drive it here, so let's do that now. Hopefully I will not run into anybody on the way out. Head this way, and that was terrible. Go back up this way. So I have a feeling this is probably not going to be like the new fastest muscle car in the game or anything, but more of the kind of vehicle you guys would want to buy to like cruise around in or something like that. Always a great sight to see when you are cruising around in one of the new vehicles and you actually get a payphone hit to randomly spawn. I really do love when that happens. But let's go drive the new Imponte into the lovely sunset right now and really see what this car can actually do. So like most cars in GTA Online, driving these cars through the city are going to make them seem a lot faster than they actually are, because the bumps basically make the cars speed up to crazy high speeds, which is honestly really funny to me because that really doesn't make any sense. If a lot of the cars actually ran into curbs and bumps like that, it would probably destroy them, but luckily in the GTA universe that really doesn't matter all that much. So one thing I have been noticing about this vehicle is it does seem to accelerate pretty dang good. I really don't think the top speed of the new Imponte is going to be all that impressive though. Most likely because this vehicle is probably not made for that and or intended to be like one of the new fastest cars or something like that. But luckily it's going to be a pretty fun time to still drive around. Sorry Brucey, I can't talk to you at the moment. And my goodness, every time there are guys on mopeds around the city, I always run into them because they are going so dang slow. I really do not understand. But let's jump onto the highway this way now. So one thing I do notice as well is compared to some of the other vehicles, I have noticed that this thing does take a little bit longer to accelerate, which obviously this car is not a race vehicle or like one of the new crazy fast supercars in the game, so it does honestly kind of make sense. And then some of the other muscle cars do take some time to accelerate as well, and my goodness, look how these people are driving. Even though I'm the one running the red light, I'm the one getting angry at them. Let's jump onto the highway now. There's a lot of bumps and stuff on the road here. So maybe I can get this car to hit 120 on the bumps here. Now, I was noticing, guys, this vehicle doesn't have a high top speed as I mentioned before. Even hitting the bumps on some of the roads, I still could not hit 120. So if you guys do plan on buying the Imponte, just know that the top speed on this vehicle isn't all that great. But if you are like a fan of the Pontiac, then I do think this vehicle is definitely worth going after because it does look really close to its actual real-life counterpart. So now cruising on the highway right now on my way to where the tunnel is to do the actual top speed run. I have a feeling this vehicle is going to be around 110 miles an hour. Now this really does kind of depend on where you guys are on the roads because I noticed almost every road in the areas of this game seem to make the car slower or faster depending on where you might be. Even on like flat ground the car might de-accelerate for no reason, then it might start accelerating going down like a tiny hill like it is now. So right there I'm actually doing almost 120, which is kind of funny. Then I was also noticing once you get past that hill, then the car is going to go back down to 110, which, you know, does make sense because going down a hill is going to make the car a little bit faster. And that's one thing I did notice with this vehicle. But for the most part, I have to admit the Imponte is a pretty awesome vehicle. But if you guys are in the market for buying something that's like 1.5 million or so with the upgrades, I would recommend taking a look at some of the other cars first, because this vehicle is not going to have the greatest performance. Although this thing does look pretty awesome for the most part, even though the interior is kind of cheap and you can really see like the actual pixels of it. I would still probably buy this vehicle for like a cool collector item, because it does look pretty dang close to the real life counterpart of the real Trans Am there. But nonetheless, let's go see what the top speed of this vehicle is on flat ground, even though right now on the other side of this tunnel, I'm averaging about 110 miles an hour. So now, being on the side where the tunnel is, let's go see what the top speed of this car actually is going to be on like flat ground, which I have a feeling it's going to be about 110, which honestly isn't all that bad compared to some of the other vehicles, and we can all agree most of the cars on GTA do like 120 to 125, so this car really isn't all that slow compared to them. But if you guys are looking to buy something around like 1.5 to like $2 million, I would recommend looking at something else, as I mentioned before, because I don't feel like this car is going to be all that worth it unless you're like a big fan of Pontiacs or something. And unfortunately I did crash, so one of my lights are out on the vehicle at the moment. The back of the car looks pretty cool. I'm not really digging how the taillights look. Obviously it does kind of look like a Pontiac to me, one of the other Trans Am models. Now, one thing I was noticing many players talking about GTA is the fact that many of the car sounds in this game do not sound all that good, and or they're very similar. And while I hate to say this, but the new Imponte is probably going to be in that category as well. I was noticing the overall sound of this car is very similar to many of the other muscle cars, but besides that, I would say this car is pretty dang cool for the most part. Even though it's over $1.4 million or so with upgrades, it really isn't all that fast. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the new Imponte Ruiner. And here is exactly how I customize this vehicle to make it look just like this. So now moving over to the customization of the new Imponte Ruiner, so let's jump right into this. So I already have the armor put on the vehicle and the brakes there. Moving down to the bumpers though, let's check these out. So we're going to have a lot of these to choose from, which is honestly probably a good thing, because these cars normally come with lots of customization, and it seems like the Imponte is going to be in that category. This is the primary. We're probably going to have a lot of different bumpers, but they'll probably be in primary, secondary, then carbon, which I've been noticing that a bit with the cars. That really doesn't look too bad on there. At least some of the bumpers actually fit the car, except that one. I really like how that looks sticking out the side of it. Carbon does look kind of nice on there. So for me, I'm most likely going to leave these off of the vehicle. I don't know what it is, but I just don't really like how some of these look on there. And I'd rather keep this car like traditional to the legit Pontiac Trans Am, so I might end up leaving the front bumpers off of it. But at least it gives you a lot of options to put on the vehicle, which I do like to see that. Moving over to the rear bumpers now, we're going to have 12 of these. I'm going to go with the carbon one on the back. That looks pretty nice. Then we have the vent on the side there.
Life is hard when you can have anything.
It really is, isn't it? And then moving down to the vented GT diffuser, then we'll have the extensions on there, which I'm really not digging that all that much. And one thing I have been noticing, by the way, guys, I really do want to know in the comments below, is anybody else experiencing like weird lag in Los Santos Customs? For example, if you back out and go into the rear bumpers, I noticed the game might lag just like that a little bit. I really don't know why that is. It's probably after the update. I already have the engine upgraded on there as well. Moving over to the exhaust now. You have titanium, then the carbon. Then we'll have the dual ones on there, which doesn't look too bad. Kind of weird with the like space in the middle, but still kind of fits the car pretty nice. Then we have the big bore. Then we have the quad exhaust, which for some weird reason, I kind of like how that one looks on the vehicle over the others. I might end up going with the chrome. Moving down to the hood now. So for me, I'm probably going to end up leaving the hood stock on this vehicle, because I really do like that overall like Pontiac Trans Am look to it. But some of these hoods do look kind of nice for the most part, and others kind of look really odd. Like, I really don't know what that is. Moving down to the next ones now. Kind of reminds me of a Mitsubishi hood. Moving down to the next one. At least there's a lot of customization for this vehicle, so it'll give many people lots of different ways to upgrade these cars. So the vents on side of this one do look pretty dang nice as well. I do like that. And then moving over to the primary GT hood, I do believe this one is just going to add the regular like vent on top of the scoop there, which doesn't actually look that bad. Then we have the secondary, and then finally the carbon one. And now moving down to the lights here, add the LED lights. Then we're going to look at the liveries now. Oh, getting a lot of the vibes from the actual Pontiac now, which I do like how they did that. Got these stripes. That looks kind of nice as well. Then we'll have that one, red flames. I do think having like liveries on every vehicle is a pretty cool touch to the game. I mean, it'll give more people like different builds and stuff they can go after, like different like cosplays and stuff like that. So it is kind of cool to have that in here. Then we'll have the mud guards. Not really feeling this all that much, but luckily they don't look all that bad on there. And then moving down to the color of the Imponte, so for me, I'm probably going to go with like a red color on the vehicle, most likely like a black pearlescent or something like that, maybe a black secondary color. So here's the red, head over to pearlescent, head up here, black on that, move over to the secondary color, so the sunrise orange, which is going to look kind of odd. I might actually end up matching the color to it, so that way it'll look a little bit better. Let's do that. Moving down to the roof now, so we have the roof panels here. So we have the secondary and or plastic, then we're going to have the carbon. Carbon doesn't look too bad on the vehicle. Then we'll have the roof upgrades. Kind of like the one that's actually on the vehicle at the moment, but I have to admit primary does look pretty dang good. The secondary, then the plastic, and then finally carbon. So for me, I'm probably just going to leave the stock roof on the vehicle. And now moving over to the skirts, we're going to have 15 other options. So here's the first one. Don't really like how that's flying out of the side of the car. So I really don't understand how like they design that. Like I personally would not add that to the vehicle unless you can like widen it out more, or maybe like a wide body to really fix that. Not really digging how those look on this vehicle. That one doesn't look too bad. Still kind of looks kind of odd though, hanging off the side of the vehicle like that. It takes one curb and the entire side of the car is going to fly off of it. That one looks okay on there. I guess it doesn't look too bad. So luckily some of those skirts do look good, but I have to admit most of them do look pretty awful on this vehicle. Moving over to the sun strips, which I'll most likely not add this to the car. I'm not really a big fan of these on certain vehicles. They really don't look too bad on there. Then we're going to have these spoilers. 22 of these as well. Adds like a double spoiler on the top of that. Then we'll have the like little ducktail. Doesn't look too bad. Then we're going to have a big wing on the back of that, which kind of looks funny. And then we will have the GT wing on the car, which I think that wing might be a little bit too big for this. And I have a feeling the wings are probably going to get bigger now. And I'm not wrong, I guess. Let's keep going down the list here. Got the primary there, then the secondary with carbon. My goodness, look at that thing. Like, I don't think anybody would actually put a wing this big on a vehicle like this. I mean, it's actually taller than the roof, which I think is kind of hilarious. Then moving down to the suspension, let's max that out at street there. Then I already put the transmission on the vehicle. Taking a look at the trunks now. We have the secondary, then the carbon. So it depends on what your secondary color is. Then we'll have the turbo, which is already on. Then for wheels, I'm going to end up going with muscle on this vehicle. Now I'm thinking about going with the, let me see where they at. I'm going to go with the drag SPLs. Go with the black color, do the tire enhancements, and then the tire design. I would say that looks pretty dang awesome like that. And then for the windows, I'm probably going to go with like a light smoke on the vehicle so you can see the detail of the interior a bit. But that will basically do it for the Imponte Ruiner. Let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments below, and thank you all so much for watching.